Is Tuesday, September 2nd. We are close to the peak of hurricane season, and still there's not a whole lot going on right now. No named storms at the moment, but we're still watching that same wave. We've been talking about it for days now. It's out over open water, and now because it's over open water and because some of the models are getting a better handle on this, the National Hurricane Center has increased the odds of development now to 70%. So there's a high likelihood that this actually turned into something over the next few days, somewhere in that red shaded area. The question, though, will become where does it go from there? So we switch over to future track. High pressure is still the steering force here, pushing it to the west. And of course, as any tropical wave moves west, closer to us, we start to pay a little more attention. So watch this. Within the next few days, I think this actually gets organized into something. The big difference between tonight and last night's tropical update is that the models have trended back south again. So yesterday, the models had this right up about here. Now it's all the way down here. So we're going to see a lot of that windshield wipering kind of going back and forth here as we head through the next few days. It really won't be until we get an actual defined system that the models get a good handle on exactly where it goes, if it curves up to the north or if it stays down south. But that will be the area to watch here as we go through the upcoming week, as it gets closer to the Antilles. Look at the timestamp, though. We're not talking about anything really threatening land for another week. It's not until 7 days from now, next Tuesday, that this feature will start to get closer to the Antilles. And at that point, we're going to be keeping a very close eye on it. And quite honestly, it'll likely have a name by that point. So here's a different perspective, a different way to look at it. There it is. On Friday, so this coming Friday, I think that we will have probably a tropical storm or a tropical depression. And from there, it'll drift north and then maybe come back south again. That's what it may look like by next Friday. So not this coming Friday, but we're looking like 10 days down the road towards Friday, September 12th. And at this point, it looks like we've got a very well-defined system north of the greater Antilles. And so the question at that point is still, will it curve to the north and thread the needle between the East Coast and Bermuda like Hurricane Erin did, or will it keep going west? The models don't go out that far, so we don't have the answer to that question. But that's why we're going to really follow this closely here as we go through the next week or two. Aside from that, there's nothing across the Atlantic. Here's our tropical wave here. Very, very disorganized, broad area of showers and thunderstorms. You can see it here. It's actually kind of tied up in the monsoonal flow that moves across the Atlantic. It's known as the Intertropical Convergence Zone, the ITCZ. And in order for any tropical waves to develop into something, they have to kind of disconnect themselves from that monsoonal flow. So we'll wait and see if that happens. On our side of the tropics, the Caribbean, dead quiet, nothing going on there. And even the Gulf is quiet. You know, we had that stationary boundary out there the last few days. I think that's starting to fall apart, and you can see just a couple showers here over the middle of the Gulf. Nothing near us, though. It was a very quiet day for us here in southeast Texas. All a reminder, though, that we are a week away from the peak of hurricane season, which is on September 10th. Doesn't mean anything. It's just the climatological or historical peak of when we typically see the most activity. That being said, we could see most of our activity as we get into October, November. There's nothing to say that we're actually going to see anything really ramp up between now and then. I do think, though, by this time next week, we do have a system out in the Atlantic somewhere, and we'll be watching it, we'll be tracking it. But for now, there are no threats to the United States, no named systems. That's all I've got for you tonight. We'll have another update coming up on the KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock later tonight. Hope to see you there.